This is Monocle on Fashion, a show on Monocle Radio bringing you exclusive insights and global perspectives on the fashion industry. I'm Natalie Theodosi, your host. Today, I'm reporting from Paris's left bank, the more elegant, laid-back part of town, which has always had a reputation as a bohemian enclave, a magnet for fashion designers, artists, and writers. Simone de Beauvoir famously wrote The Second Sex here, while Yves Saint Laurent had scandalized the fashion industry in the 1960s when he chose to cross the river. Haute couture houses were traditionally located on the right bank and opened his first ready-to-wear boutique, helping to start democratize the industry. To this day, the Rive Gauche retains its artistic charm. Saint Laurent's offices and ateliers are located here, alongside the historic cafes, brand flagships, and design galleries. But a new generation of fashion designers have also found their place in this part of town, building their ateliers and their entire businesses around these left bank neighbourhoods. The slower pace suits their slow design ethos and independent spirits. And given the abundance of well-dressed locals on the streets, they are never short of inspiration here. Julie de Libran is a shining example of a Rive Gauche loyalist. After years of working for some of the most revered fashion houses in the world, from Prada to Louis Vuitton and Sonia Rykiel, she decided to return closer to home and launch her own business. Her eponymous label now focuses on made-to-measure and limited edition designs crafted by hand in some of Paris's best ateliers. This format allows her to take time to meet clients personally and build a community of inspiring creative women around her brand. I meet her in her boutique a few days after her show, held during the city's Haute Couture Fashion Week. Instead of the usual large-scale format, de Libran hosted friends of the brand in her left bank home. It felt like the most welcoming, elegant dinner party you could ever wish to be invited to. We speak about the event, the collection she just presented, the enviable community she has managed to bring together, and her vision of modern luxury. Let's hear directly from Julie.
I feel actually extremely fortunate because I had the experience to be in Italy many years with incredible homes, actually family homes, maison as we call them in France, with Prada, where I was there for 10.5 years. So it was really, many years of apprentissage, like really, and working next to Miuccia Prada and Bertelli, whom I respect extremely and learned so much from. And then, even before that, I worked with Gianni Versace when he was here, with Gianfranco Ferré, to then Paris with Marc Jacobs at Louis Vuitton, and Sonia Rykiel, where there I was asked to do the artistic direction, and that was, for me, extremely interesting because she was such an iconic Parisian woman, dressing women with a whole wonderful wardrobe that was comfortable and for an everyday, which for me, made sense also because I grew up with my mother wearing Sonia Rykiel. It was always an inspiration, and I've always admired strong women with something they had to say, that they also expressed their personalities through clothes. Because sometimes, it's something I also felt very personal about because I was always extremely shy and introverti, and clothes would help me create conversation, kind of feel stronger. My upbringing was, I think I was inspired by music, and then that was clothes as well, because the way, how music influenced a lot the style. And so all that was always a strong inspiration. I think every experience that I had, which was often, a few years in each house, was so rich because there was such a craftsmanship in the atelier, the research for fabrics, everything that we created in terms of we made our own fabrics, We had our mills weave exactly the threads that we wanted to put together and the colors we wanted to put together to create our own fabric. And the patterns, the research, the whole construction of volumes and details and finishings, it was so much work and so exploratory. Like, it was really a lot of creativity.
And I think you've really adopted the same principles around craft and, I mean, amazing quality when it comes to building your own label. But it must be also completely different working for a big heritage house with the backing of a group to setting up your own business and having your name at the door. What are some of those kind of big differences? And also I'm curious, how do you take the leap to do that after so many years of having the safety in a way of a bigger business behind you, unlimited budgets in some cases?
Yeah, as you say, safety, but it's not always. I think because I started quite young and had many years of experience, so I don't even count anymore, but I think in total it's more than 30 years in the big houses. And I think it got to a point where it was just time that I needed to do it my way. So, as you say, the risk, the not having obviously the same budget, the same team, the same visibility. I think it got to a point where I was ready, and it was maybe my age, my experience, where I was like, oh, this feels so personal to me, and this is time now where I feel comfortable enough to do it on my own and to make it small and to make it very close to my personal taste and ideas. And I know I'm very lucky to be in Paris, where it's the center of haute couture, center of fashion, center of craftsmanship. I mean, I'm surrounded by extreme creativity. So I felt like it was just so rich and so inspiring, and so it was just a timing where I was like, okay, it's now. And I was ready. I mean, obviously, my priorities are every day. I have to, look at my priorities. I can't do everything that I want to. I have a certain freedom because I'm pretty much on my own, just making my decisions. I don't have all those meetings that I used to have in those big houses, obviously. My team is extraordinary, but very small, my atelier, and I work with outside ateliers, of course, because otherwise I couldn't make everything. So it's really a small team, strong team. But I'm also able to, keep it to a human size that makes sense for me. And I think today, more than ever, with the world being what it is, I just want less is more, and smaller quantity. Everything I make is numbered and limited editions because I work in the most responsible way that I could, working and making only in France and Italy, because I know those ateliers and I know the provenance of the materials, the quality of the work, and then couture, just one of a kind, made to measure. It's a challenge for sure, but it's quite amazing. Yeah.
And tell me about setting up your own atelier here in Paris and the ateliers that you work with, because you've built a bit of a network and a lot of them are quite local and near you. What's the value in having that direct contact and people right at your doorstep being able to take your sketches and bring them to life?
Well, being 30 years in the industry, throughout those years, I made some amazing relationships. And so these different ateliers and workshops and just in the industry, I've made some incredible connections. And we always had just amazing, you work so many hours, you work so much in this industry that I was able, that when I started my own brand, go back to some of these ateliers and some of these workshops and say, would you be interested, in making this for me? And it was amazing because they, obviously a lot of them, 30 years, they grew, they were bought by big groups, they evolved. I'm lucky to work with a lot of the Chanel's Art et Métier. Yeah. So, but I worked with all those ateliers before they were owned by Chanel. So we kept an amazing, experience, relationship. So when I asked Gossens to realize my jewelry that I designed and with their craftsmanship, also because I'm in Paris, I'm in the center of all this beautiful work. I want to celebrate it. So I'm trying to go to see the best for everything that I design. I want to try and get, again, less is more. I try to go just to the best of that kind of craftsmanship. So Gossens, made my jewelry, and it's just been ongoing, and it's just been so wonderful. And I just love celebrating that. I work with some ateliers that I worked in the past that are also part of their art et métier. They're embroiderers, but I also work with other embroiderers I've worked for 25 years or 30 years. So, I was very lucky, because when I started my brand, which is 6 years now, to try to be responsible, I had understood that at my mills, there were all these leftover, like 30 meters of this gorgeous cashmere, 20 meters of this like beautiful satin in a color that didn't work, So I had like these treasures. And so I was just going directly to the mills and recuperating those 30 meters, 20 meters, 15 meters, and making my unique pieces or my number limited editions, just small series. And then, we unfortunately had this terrible COVID period, but it also, I have to see the positive side. LVMH, who I used to work for, created a platform with all their leftovers from the group called Nona Source. And I celebrate that a lot, because I know, when I was there, I know all the provenance of where the fabrics were made, where the wools were made, where the tweed was weaved, all the silks, where they came from, what were the mills that they worked with, because I worked there. And so I'm working with this platform, which is fantastic for designers like me and others, where we're able to, also use these extraordinary fabrics where you can find really some small treasures. And so that's also wonderful to have. Or I'm working, I'm starting to create my different bags that are still, for now, a clutch. It's an evolution from the clutch to the double clutch. And it's all made with an atelier that I've worked with for so many years. Or my hats, I don't know if you saw the caps, that are made with this Maison Michel. I used to work with them when I was at Gianfranco Ferré in 92.
Oh, wow.
Can you imagine? I used to come here to work with them. I mean, it's just, for me, that's so fabulous. I mean, I'm so happy to be able to do that.
Yeah, so it's bringing everyone you've grown up with in a way and working with them in a smaller way, but still maintaining the quality. And it sounds...
And the collaboration,
It sounds like also with this approach, you're able to make couture, but also blend the lines between ready-to-wear and couture in your own way. And tell me about that. Why did you choose to do it that way versus doing the more traditional ready-to-wear collections and following the fashion calendar?
Well, I follow the calendar because I'm in part of the Fédération de la Haute Couture, so I am in the calendar of the Haute Couture. The ready-to-wear, just because starting on my own and all the things that I mentioned, wanting to make it very small and, a little bit more responsible, I feel like as a designer, because it starts from the creativity. So my starting point was okay, I'm not going to make a huge production. I still don't know who my client is. I still don't know, are they going to buy it? What's the price point? Where are they? All that came into my creativity and strategy when I was building the brand. And I thought, I think doing it during a couture makes it just a little bit more artisanal. And also, again, I insisted, and I'm very difficult on this subject, is I insist it's made here in France, in Italy, just because I'm here and I don't see why I need to go travel to make things abroad when there's a savoir-faire here. I mean, I know, unfortunately, because of the law and all the rules and the respect of people working, the costs are higher. But I prefer that you have just one gorgeous coat and then 10, and half of them you don't wear, you throw them away, you give them, you know what I mean? It's going back to this kind of responsible fashion. And so I make it in France. All the houses that I've worked with for 30 years have only made, we always had an amazing atelier in-house, like big atelier, and we've only made in a certain quality and quantity. So I don't know how to work differently.
And I think you definitely found the kind of customer who appreciates this way of working and who comes to you for these special commissions. And we were just speaking about it, being at your show last week and seeing the customers, the friends of the house who were sitting around. I've never seen at any show I think I've been to recently such a beautiful group of women, and that it's the kind of women you see them and you instantly want to be friends with. And how did you manage to bring these people together? I think it's something that every designer wants, but you don't necessarily achieve it, or we speak about community but in very vague terms, while you've managed to do it in a real way.
Well, thank you, that's very kind. I feel it's wonderful. I feel like I'm surrounded by women that definitely support and love the clothes. They realize that it's the craftsmanship, as I mentioned before, the quality of the material. Often it's the material that's like, oh wow, it's and the comfort and that there's not that many, so they're not wearing the same thing as a lot of other people. I guess it's a little bit more special, so you have to be open to that. But definitely the women that were there and that follow us have that sensibility. It's happened quite naturally. A lot of women that would buy the collections where I used to work in other houses, I think they started seeing a certain similarity in the style or my style that I was already bringing to those houses. I've always been told I had quite a feminine approach, but with a kind of comfort and easiness. I guess it's from my upbringing, being French, but living in America for my young years. I lived in America from 8 years old to 18. So it's a lot of years and formative years. So we have a certain following of these amazing American clients to, my years in Italy. So just to say that it's kind of a melting pot of, my upbringing and an attraction. And I can't explain it, but it's quite wonderful. And as you say, the kind of community, it grows. And I'm the one meeting all these wonderful women when I'm also showing my collection. And I get this this wonderful exchange, and that's also what's very special with my work and how I'm doing it in this way, that it's so much smaller because I'm meeting the clients. It's very rare in the big houses that the designer is meeting the clients.
Absolutely, and I think that comes across at the show as well. So coming to your home, it feels so cozy. There's music in the background. Usually there's just this awkward wait before a show, but when we were waiting for your show to begin, I think everyone was socializing, they were catching up, there was drinks going around, so it's a very different atmosphere. And I find that it's also a much more modern way of bringing people together, doing a show, no?
It feels right for me, that's for sure.
And we should talk about the collection itself as well. Do you work with specific inspirations every season, or is it more of an ongoing process? How did it work, especially looking at the collection that you just showed?
There definitely is an ongoing process. I think, things come back, and I definitely have a certain silhouette or different things that, I guess I get inspired by very many different types of women, and I like women that are active. So I like for clothes not to be in their way. I like for things to be easy to wear, even though I'm doing couture and made to measure. I feel like that's important because it has to fit perfectly, and it has to be not in your way. Like I don't like things that feel like a costume. I like for things to, because I like being active myself, and I like women when they're really passionate and they're doing what they love and they're active. So I have to say that in my creativity, in my design, in my choices of shapes, or when I start draping on a mannequin, or the fabrics that I choose, I definitely have that always in mind. And I love playing from day wear to evening wear to masculine to feminine. I love the high and low of things. But I definitely push myself sometimes to experience like new techniques, new technology, new embellishments of maybe a jewel that's inserted in a garment, so it's all there for you, so you don't have to always add on. Sometimes it's already prepared, so you kind of just put it on. I love that kind of simplicity of putting something on and you're dressed, or like having different pieces, like a top and a skirt, and you wear it and it's a dress, and then you can wear it separately, that top with great jeans or pants, and it's still wonderful. I love the versatility of the garment, so in my creativity I always think of that. And I think this collection I started looking at all these fabrics, and I started seeing armor and like strength and metal and silver and gold and bronze and copper and like all these metals that kind of just kept coming to me. And again, the force of the women and this strength and this activity, but as well staying kind of like sensitive or supple or feminine, like a second skin, but still strong, like these velvets. I used a lot of bande de velours velvets. I added chain, like metal chain, to go back to the kind of armor, or the embroidered jewelry that was totally encrusted but all hand embroidered, the jeweled dress, like the cage dress with the jewels and the chain. It kind of came together as something, but then I also had like what you would wear under armor, like the kind of poor, like lama wool, like kind of poncho to wear like kind of daily, but then the beauty on top. So anyways, I had, so I kind of created my story little by little as I went, and but it was just my imagination. Nothing was literal. Nothing came exactly from an armor. I didn't research the armors and started doing the details. I didn't go that far because I don't like costumes. But I love history. I research it, but it always comes more from my selective memory.
Maybe it's also because you are your customer, you know your customers personally, so you always have the day-to-day life needs at the back of your mind. It's not just the fantasy that the costume can bring.
Yeah, I have a lot of working women around me, and they're busy, women that are active, so I want it to be practical. I like for them to look strong and to still be beautiful, sensual, but still like not fragile.
That was Julie de Libran, founder of her eponymous fashion label. And now we move a few blocks down to visit Julie's neighbor and fellow couturier, Rabih Kayrouz. The Beirut-born designer took a break from shooting his campaign this week to talk to Monocle on Fashion about building his brand's home in Paris's Left Bank, a chic, cozy space that functions as atelier, office, showroom, and makeshift photo studio too. We talk about melding the urban attitude of Paris with Lebanon's Mediterranean spirit, the importance of designing clothes that are more than just fantasy, and his newfound optimism. Let's hear directly from Rabih.
I have been doing this beautiful job since 25 years. I started in Lebanon and then I moved to Paris, so 25 years since Beirut and 15 years since Paris. I would describe my brand with just one word. It's a brand who not follow fashion. It's a brand who loves women, and I love to dress them. I love to see them wearing my clothes during the day, during the evenings, to enjoy my pieces, whether it's a white shirt or an evening gown, or seeing my my girls running in the street with my coats. That is so peaceful.
Yeah, I mean, for you it must come as second nature, this love of women, the ease of the clothes sometimes, but it's something that's becoming more and more rare, I find, and also a brand that doesn't follow the fashion schedule like in the traditional way, the trends that are happening. Like you said, it's been 25 years and I'm sure there's always a pressure to become part of that system. How, for all this time, have you managed to just stay on your path and do it your way without getting influenced by the noise in the system?
You know, I started because since the beginning I was, when I decided to do this, I decided by pleasure. It's not by passion. I wanted to do clothes. I wanted to dress people. It's not out of fantasy. I'm not attracted by the shows and all these things happening around it. And as I told you, I'm so happy to see people that now I can cross in the streets, people wearing my clothes, and that's what makes me very, very happy. To keep it calm, maybe it's a decision or it's something that came with time. I mean, I don't like pressures. I don't like these. I respect the calendar, and sometimes because I have my clients coming in at these periods, so my collection has to be ready at that time. But it's not so stressful now because I don't do shows. But I put some pressure sometimes. I mean, I need to finish things. I like to finish things, but we take time in our way as well. And for me, what's important is to keep the word respect staying in here around. We respect the fabric, we respect the work, I respect the women doing the clothes. So I don't want to rush them to do bad things or to stress them for nothing. And I respect the woman, the body that I'm putting a dress on. So from this respect, I pick up my fabric. I pick up the nice way to do it and the best way to cut it and the best way to cover and to be with the ladies wearing it.
And is that passion for fabric, for craft and making things very mindfully and more slowly the reason why you've also kept doing haute couture as well as ready to wear, which is, I think, very difficult as an independent when you're competing, especially in Paris with all these big groups and the houses that have unlimited budgets?
I never saw it this way. It's definitely difficult because, yes, I'm an independent house. I have beautiful partners supporting me, but it's not a big group and we don't have perfumes, accessories and all these things that can support a brand as well. But the idea that I have since the beginning, I don't have limits between couture and ready-to-wear. It's a one collection. Sometimes it has more sophisticated technique, more expensive fabrics that becomes more exclusive pieces. And other pieces are in the same collection, more accessible and more wearable. Everything is wearable. I don't like actually the idea I have doing something not to be worn. I mean, it has no no sense for me. Now I have the chance that a dress in the Louvre with the couture exhibition, but it's a very wearable couture dress. It's a jumper with a skirt. The jumper can be worn alone, the skirt can be worn alone, and I love this idea of having precious pieces that you can play with it. And keeping this idea, I think I'm surrounded by very good people, as I said, good partners, beautiful team, very good clients that help me to keep the business running.
Yeah, it's so interesting that you put the people at the core. And I mean, just having a peek at your atelier, people are busy making things by hand. You're shooting your campaign like all around. Everything is kind of seems like it's happening around the studio. So tell me about how important is it to have the atelier here and to operate this way in one kind of structure.
I mean, I don't see things happening differently. Even if I don't sometimes manufacture all the clothes here, because we don't manufacture everything here. Here is the studio to prepare to as a sketch. I mean, we do the first modeling, the first samples, but everything is done outside the studio for the production. But it's important because I can keep my eye on everything. I'm kind of a control freak, and I admit it. But I like as well to be very close to the people I work with, and I'm not an artist who can just be in his studio painting or sculpting or preparing whatever different medias. But I'm here. I have to work. It's an artisan work. I have to be with the artisans. I have to be with the people doing the pieces, and sometimes they give me more than I give them as well, because I can design. I can have. I want this, and I can prepare the first sketch or the first maquette or the first toile, but they will do it. So they are important in this business. All the people I work with are so important. I cannot do this work alone by myself. So putting all these people together as well for the preparation, for the ideas, is crucial.
And tell me about the customers as well, because they are big part of this equation. I know you have personal relationships with them. I'm sure some of them come here to try on the clothes, to place orders. So I'm really curious, who is that type of woman, and if there's a common thread between all your different customers.
There is definitely a common thread. I can see that between even the young girls who come here or the more ladies who I can meet later on, and that we have the same attitude. I felt that whether people are coming here to the studio, meeting me or meeting my team, or people that I don't know, they will go to a store I work with, because I'm distributed in beautiful stores around the world, and these stores, they're not big department store who you can be anonymous there. I mean, all the stores I work with are the people who comes here to shop, and they are in their store selling. So they know their client, and they know exactly what they're buying, and I feel like as if I'm there with them, because they buy the collection, they pick up the pieces, they had this whole universe that I'm trying to give with every collection, and they have it there. People can see it as if they are here. And from time to time, I meet the clients. I don't know all my clients, but I can feel when I travel to see these boutiques, I feel the same attitude that I have here as well. Mm-hmm. It's, again, this word respect that is applied everywhere, because all my clients respect their clients as well. And so it's a continuous story.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that, you don't like fantasy as much. The clothes are a lot more grounded, you can wear them, but it sounds like there's so much magic in the relationship with the customer, in the fact that they can wear the clothes on the street, and it's just as inspiring as something over the top.
Thank you.
Tell me, you mentioned also the exhibition at the Louvre and the beautiful piece that you have now on display there. What did it mean to have that recognition and to see your work in that context? It's the first time that they do a major fashion exhibition as well, so it's quite interesting.
It's huge. I mean, I'm trying to find the right word to describe my feeling. I feel so happy to be there. Let's face it, I'm very happy, very proud to be among all these great designers and big houses. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful they choose me. I'm grateful to Olivier Gabet, the curator who made this exhibition, because it's not only about me and my piece there. The whole exhibition is so smart, so inspiring. And I felt, I've never had a mood board. I never decided when I start a collection, I don't have a direct inspiration. But it was quite interesting to see how Olivier saw the inspiration in my piece he put in this collection, and how suddenly it had she as the silhouette find her place between this Byzantine and Middle Age pieces. So precious, and definitely in the back of my mind these pieces inspired me, and for each designer it was the same, and as if these pieces came where they started. Because we as a designer get inspired, of course, but sometimes directly, sometimes indirectly, but these pieces came where they were born, and suddenly there is a conversation between what's done today, what was done yesterday, and everything is inspiring. And suddenly the fashion pieces, what is exhibited there, they are becoming inspirations as well
for future collections.
It's so magical, and again, I'm so grateful.
And I think it sends also a really beautiful, strong message about fashion in Paris. It's and your kind of role in it.
That's what I'm so happy, and I found my place here in Paris when I decided to come here. I was beautifully welcomed by the Chambre Syndicale, by the press, then later on by the clients. Again, I feel grateful for all these people who welcomed me.
We're speaking about Paris, which is such a big part of your work, but I'd love to also speak about Beirut, which is where you started. You still have your atelier and shop there. Tell me, how did it shape your identity as a designer, the way you approach design, and how the influence of Beirut continues to shape you and your work?
I was born in Lebanon, and then discovered Beirut later on. I discovered Paris before Beirut, and I opened my first atelier and couture house in Beirut. I have a very emotional relation with Lebanon and Beirut, with the people there, with my team there, and all this Mediterranean light is, I think, something that inspires me the most. Because it's something sweet, light, the light, the sun, and the colors that can always be in my collection are somewhere from there. And I love there is something that I discovered, because I used to love it, but I couldn't put some words on it. The way the Oriental pieces, and it can be all the Mediterranean costume, dresses, or the way of dressing in the Mediterranean since the Greek till now, there is something so fluid. Not the dresses or the coats or everything comes flowing on the body, caressing almost the body, and I love that.
It's that sense of ease that you're saying is always in your collections,
I think
right?
this is what's Oriental in my work. This sense of ease, this nothing can struggle you when you wear my clothes. It's not tight. You can breathe, you can walk, you can move, and for me it's so interesting. My Parisian inspiration as well. The city attitude, the urban attitude. Maybe it's better word. This Mediterranean lay down attitude and the urban attitude that I had from Paris, mixing two strong parts of my collections. This is how I build my collection, how my pieces are built. Whether it's a jacket that you can wear in the city, suddenly this jacket has slits and it moves and it will be more easy to wear. And some dresses are completely fluid and destructured. Suddenly there is a belt that can hold you. It's a way to say it. It holds, and then you can feel more urban, maybe.
Yeah, beautiful marriage of the two.
It's definitely I live with this, and I get inspired from these two contrasts.
That was Rabih Kayrouz, founder of Maison Rabih Kayrouz, talking to me from his atelier in Paris. And that's all for today's show. Stay tuned for more big interviews and behind-the-scenes conversations with Monocle editors. Today's episode was edited and produced by Lily Austin. I'm Natalie Theodosi. Thank you for listening.